Welcome to another video looking at possible questions for the Foundational Catholic Theology paper. As you can see in front of us, we've got a potentially quite tricky evaluation question here. Humans are the pinnacle of creation. Now, what's worth noting before we begin to look at the answer to this question, where we can go, because this would be on the first half, the origins and meaning part of the paper, what we are going to need to give is we need to give a Roman Catholic viewpoint, and we need to give a non-religious viewpoint as well. Obviously within that you could also give a Jewish point of view if you needed to or you wanted to, but ultimately as long as you've given a religious viewpoint and then a non-religious viewpoint, you're going to be absolutely fine. So if you have a look through this first paragraph, so St. Augustine taught that humans are made in the image of God, Imago Dei, so that's going to count as a source of wisdom, reflecting the divine qualities such as reason, free will and moral conscience. So there again, it's about explaining what Imago Dei means, not just stating it. According to St. Augustine, this distinguishes humanity from the rest of creation, giving people a unique purpose to seek God and live virtuously. Now again here, if you wanted to, you could talk about the virtues as explained by Aquinas in Natural Law, but because it's not asking for that, you can just simply get away with a nod to what that means in terms of the question. The ability to love, create and engage in moral reasoning supports the idea that humans hold a special place in creation as they reflect God's own nature. This belief underpins Catholic teaching on the dignity of every human being, affirming that humans are distinct from other creatures. So that by using Augustine and making sure I'm going back to this idea of creation, I'm making it very, very clear that humans are indeed the pinnacle of creation. If I wanted to here, I could also go and talk about the idea of Adam and Eve and talk about the Genesis story. If I didn't want to talk about the special role in terms of reasoning and being able to think and being able to kind of form opinions and sharing in that divinity, I could instead go and just talk about Adam and Eve. My second Catholic paragraph, here I've gone to talk about the soul. Now, the discussion about ensoulment and whether a soul exists and life after death might not necessarily fall within the remit of origins and meanings, but you can use it to your advantage here. So humans are given souls at conception, enabling them to share in the divinity of God. So again, a couple of marks there. Unlike animals who only exist in the physical realm, humans possess an eternal soul which connects them to God and makes them capable of salvation. So again, although salvation isn't necessarily part of the origin and meaning, and perhaps not an immediate thought that you'd want to consider, it is going to get you marks, and it is going to show that we are more than every other creature on the planet, because we are the only creatures capable of salvation. Therefore, we are the pinnacle of creation. This reinforces the idea that human life has an inherent value and divine purpose from the moment it begins. The belief in the sanctity of human life, influenced by this theological understanding, shapes Catholic teachings on moral issues such as abortion, emphasising that life begins at conception and should be protected. So again here, I've brought it back round to issues familiar to the origin meaning element of the course. So again, bringing it back round to things that the examiner is going to expect, but you are obviously going to get credit for being a little bit more original and taking the answer in a slightly different direction, but still remaining very much within the remit of any potential mark scheme. Then my however, so I've definitely got my evaluation in. Humanism and evolutionary theory challenge this perspective, arguing that we are not divinely created but rather the product of natural selection. So there's a source of wisdom, and I've put Darwin in to back that up. Presents a scientific explanation for human existence, suggesting humans evolved from common ancestors through gradual adaptation rather than being uniquely designed by God. So again here, I'm making sure that the examiner knows exactly what I mean when I talk about evolution. Humanists emphasise that humanity's significance comes from intelligence, societal contributions and ethical progress, rather than divine purpose. They argue that morality and human worth arise from reason and collective human experience, rather than religious doctrine, rejecting the idea that humans are intrinsically superior to the rest of creation. Now this is a paragraph, is your model humanist paragraph for really any question, because this is where humanism sees value in humanity. This is where humanism sees authority and integrity within the human existence. You could use this for any question, whether that would be about abortion, whether that would be about caring for the environment and stewardship, any evaluation question on the origins of meaning. This section you could go away and just learn this and reuse it over and over again. So in conclusion, to definitely hit all of my evaluation marks, whether humans are pinnacles of creation depends on one's perspective. Religious traditions emphasise the divine purpose and unique spiritual qualities, while scientific and humanist views highlight evolutionary process and shared biological traits. The debate remains central to discussions on human dignity, ethics and the relationship between faith and science, and it's at that point there where you would then say which one you agreed upon. And obviously I'm not necessarily going to tell you which one to go for. That depends upon which argument you would think you'd be able to discuss and argue for most readily. For me, I would go for the Catholic viewpoint simply because there is more content. But again, if you sway more towards the humanist side of things, that too is going to get you plenty of marks and plenty of credit.